disconnected. Just stay here where everything is. When people want to jump out and chase everything, it's like, no, you just need to be in alignment, because everything comes to you. It just keeps coming more and more and more the more you stay in alignment. You don't have to go and put your focus out there. You can just sit here and everything will come in. Even a week to a month from now, you could be sitting here right now and you can receive and be told, well, somebody's going to knock on your door in a month's time, and this is a person and what they look like. And then months later, you go to the door and you're knocking, you open it, and you already received and know that. So being here is quite important to the way the universe works. Are you paying attention? You're knocking on the door. Different way of looking at it.
So then what do you do? Like, how do you go into being in your center? Do you have a how, or you just are so familiar with that place that you can just click in?
That's where I always tell you, learn to feel. You have to feel. You have to recognize these energies. You have to, because most people, they're like little children. You put them in a playground and they see things and they just run here and there and they fight to play with this and that. And your mind is undisciplined. So when you decide to discipline it and you sit there within yourself, you look at all the toys and you decide, well, is it time for me to go over there and go down the slide or go on the swing? And you watch everybody. After there's an opportunity, you go and enjoy yourself. And when you're done, you look at the rest. You don't just go randomly attacking.
I gotta do it all.
And that's undisciplined mind. And even as an adult, you'll see yourself doing it all the time.
Totally.
It's like, what is really important and what is the truth for you?
So I've got a question. Like this morning, Joe, so it really helped to go within myself. And then I was wondering what was going on, and this old grief came up. Mm-hmm. I guess clearing. I'm just saying, because we're in the group here. Mm-hmm. It is still clearing and I know where it sits. So do I just keep going underneath the grief and let it flow through?
Yeah, you just sort of sit in it. You just sit with it and you don't allow the emotions to control anymore, and it'll burn itself out. It'll actually just disconnect or shut off on its own. So it's not anything you have to do. It's just the old patterns of putting emotions and feelings into it is activated. And then you just sit there. I always say it's like watching an old silly horror movie. Say Freddy Krueger for you is the most terrifying horror movie you know, and if you watched it after 20 times after it becomes really silly. It doesn't become scary anymore, and you know every little detail that's going to go on, and you watch it and you actually laugh and you get bored and you put that movie away. That's what a lot of these old memories are. It's like watching a horror movie, but if you actually realize and remove the emotions and the attachment to it, you're actually going to laugh and release and understand and free yourself of it, and it's automatic in its own way. Yeah. Because when you're sitting with somebody and you're going into their stuff, like if I'm sitting with Cindy and we're working on something from her past, I'm looking at it and I'm holding space, and she's uncomfortable and doesn't want to be in it, but I'm still holding that space. I'm not putting any emotions in it. Even if she decides to cry or fall on the floor and have tantrums and scream and jump around, I'm still holding the intention, and I'm not putting any emotion, because I know as soon as she's done with that, it's going to pop and she's going to go, oh.
It's happened.
And just like, why did I have to do all of that? And then you sit down. And sometimes she'll laugh at it later. She'll think about it, then she'll talk about it. And she's realized she didn't need to go through all of that. It just, just recognizing and go, oh, wow, okay, this is going on now. And then it clears itself.
It's so uncomfortable, but like beautiful in that moment, because it's like I'm frustrated and I'm angry, and I want to be. And then I see it for everything that it is. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have to do this. And then I realize, and in that moment of realizing, it's like all that space of that anger just moved over here. And then I'm like, I didn't need to do that. And then he smiles and he says, nope. He doesn't say much else than that. And then I see it for what it was, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so interesting on how we can get pulled into something, and then it plays this big show, and then this movie and this display of validation, and then in just a split second, it has nothing anymore, no energy, and it's quite interesting. It's like I love it because there was an awareness that came in, but then it's kind of like, oh my God, why couldn't I get that sooner?
Yeah, and I could feel it when it's coming off her. I could feel everything where it's progressing, and then she'll do certain things, like how she does this with her fist, and it's like, okay, and then this energy just comes on, and I'm like, okay, she wants to attack, and I'm just gonna hold this energy. I'm just gonna keep holding it. I'm not buying into it. I'm not gonna fight with her or argue or prove anything. And I'm just gonna let it do its own thing. And then when it's done, things just pop, and a lot of times she'll start laughing or something, or she'll process it for a day or two, and then she'll sit down and discuss it with me. But then it's released. She can go back into it and look at it. So that's the same thing with yourself. It's just looking at it. How many times have I done this in my life? Have I got any strengths from it? Is there good things in this? Or how has it helped me in different ways? And question it. Instead of just allowing the emotions, actually question it. It's like, okay, is this real anymore? Is this really the way I feel? Is there some way I can take this and use it to benefit somebody else, and just instead of letting the emotions ride that roller coaster? So it's a big recognition, this feeling, and becoming conscious.
I remember this time in years ago, and there was a coworker of mine that I was having a sexual attraction to. And every time he'd come around, and it's like it was firing off of him and it was firing off of me. And I was just like, whoa, it feels so good, like to have that magnetic sort of attraction. And so for, throughout a couple weeks, I'm feeling this, and I'm questioning how much do I want to play with that image in my mind, allowing that energy to build. Do I feed into it or what? So then I started talking to Joe about it, and I was like, "Okay, Joe, like there's this energy, and because I all of a sudden wanted to understand it versus just acknowledging it and accepting it. I wanted to understand it. So I'm like, is this real? What? And then I realized after talking with Joe that it was this guy carried a familiar energy that I was familiar with in my past, and it got triggered. And then I was like, do I still want that energy? And then when I figured it out inside myself, and I was like, no, and I was really true and honest about it, it was just gone. The next day I saw him, and it was like there was just no firing happening, and I laugh inside, and I was like, holy smokes, I learned something about you can be angry, and you can also be turned on sexually. They're all different emotions or feelings and sensations you have in your body, and it's like, which one is you're going to let play its movie and go down, or are you going to catch it and look at it and question it, figure out what's next with it? It's more like an opportunity.
Yeah, this is where I try to teach Cindy is the universe doesn't take anything you're not ready to or you're not willing to let go of. So
yeah, you
always get tested before something is finished, and this was a test for her because the universe triggered it, and she made me aware of it, and I'm like, yeah, there's just this stuff going on. If you really figure it out, it's your decision. And he's sort of projecting this on you, and he's trying to see if you're going to buy in and see how far it can go. And then she realized she can be in control, and it was her decision. And she realizes she didn't want to go back into the past and replay all these things she's already done. And she's like, no. And she went to work, and that's where it stopped. Everything changed just automatically, just because she pulled everything back in and going, no, I'm finished with this. Mm-hmm. So that's where sometimes I try to tell people, if you're not ready to let it go, the universe will test you. They'll bring different things into your environment that you really enjoyed, or that stimulated you, or made you fantasize or think certain things. And you're like, how come this is playing out? I thought I moved past this. So the universe is still seeing if there's some resonance or something inside you that's there, that's maybe blinding you. And if you can recognize this and you can ask couple of the right questions, the energy dissolves, and it shifts the person. It heals them too on some level. You both play this out to help one another. So it's quite interesting how it works. And that's where the feeling is so important. Like, it's really important to be aware of